Anthony Edward Smith, Tony, started the business in 1989. AES Management is he named it for himself, Anthony E. Smith. And Tony always knew he wanted to own his own business. He went to business school, he had his MBA from the University of Chicago, and he was working as a management consultant, but he knew he wanted to own his own business. He met a gentleman named Dempsey Travis, who's at the time was a real estate mogul, black real estate mogul on the south side of Chicago, but also a civil rights leader and also a historian. And I recall him saying he saw him and was inspired by him. And Dempsey Travis said, we need to build wealth in our community. And he was of the opinion to do the best way to do that, he felt, was to own your own business. And that resonated with Tony. He was prepared. He was prepared. He educated himself on business principles. This was not a hobby for him. He ran his business per data. Okay, so he was intimately involved with the operations, with the finances, profit and loss. He knew this off of the top of his head. But he was also a man of the people. We are a business, but we have always, and it started with Tony and we've continued it, we are of the community. So what does that mean? We have a responsibility to give back and to lift up where we can. So we do that through our philanthropy. You saw the many causes that he was involved in and gave to, and we've continued it probably with a bit of a different slant. Still very involved in education. One of his primary philanthropic organizations was the Great Lakes Science Center. He was an engineer by trade. So he thought, and we do still believe that STEM is critically important. So, but also, just a myriad of organizations and personally volunteering. And at the same time, I was involved in a number of organizations and personally volunteer, and we still give back to the community. I think one of our emphasis as a company is social justice, and always has been. So supporting the NAACP, supporting CAREMU and the arts, still supporting education and educational programs wherever we can. I've been involved in, chair the board of Metro Health. I'm involved with the United Way on the board, chair the CAREMU Committee on Development, and just Birth and Beautiful, just a number of organizations that uplift and are critical to social justice, health, and the arts. And I think that's our emphasis right now. We used like 7 layers of financing, city money, state money, loans, commercial loans, friends and family raised money. So putting that together for our first restaurant was a challenge. But I remember the day we opened, it was a big deal. The mayor came, and my partners from my law firm came and stood at the corner of Lee and Stockbridge and opened Doc's Great Fish. And from there, we, about 4 years later, converted those restaurants to Popeyes. To the younger Black entrepreneurs, I would say, reach out, use the resources. He's laughing, but there's so many resources out here. You don't have to do it alone. The Urban League, we just talked, the Urban League, there are a number of agencies that'll help, but there are also those of us who traveled your path. And sometimes they think, well, they've made it, or we were where you were. Truly, I mean, when I talk friends and family and trying to make it happen and so we were where you are, so we do understand those struggles. So reach out, and sometimes reach out to us. I mentor a lot of, now some of them, I say I use this old reference. There was this show called, it was Kung Fu, and the head teacher would have a pebble in his hand, if you snatched it, they'd say you surpassed me. So that's what I like to see. So I'm seeing now people who I've mentored who have gone on and doing great things nationally. So we're old, but we're not feeble, you know. So I would say reach out and use the resources that are available to you. Talk to people who have been along your path, and persevere. You know, you will have some rough times, and you also have to know when to pivot. So don't drown, right? So if this isn't working, analyze it and figure out why it isn't working, and you may need to pivot. Because the other thing we see is that people stay too long on that path and they start drowning. So before you drown, pivot.